Yeah, the big question here is though, like, does ShiauC go towards this Thresh? Like, you just take that away from the Aphelios, and now you could always go for like Thresh Jarvan or something like this, and now you got this Aphelios who has to deal with a Jarvan who's going to be leaping in on top of him. It becomes a little bit more difficult to manage, but we'll have to see exactly what the decision is going to be. But with Zhao open, strongest jungler on the patch, it looks like that's maybe the first port of call here for Cryin.
Yeah, we also got the Corki. We haven't really talked about that mid lane. Again, Cryin was, you had to ban mid Twisted Fate against him for a very long time now, but like we mentioned, he's not really roaming out, so he's going to go with that little bit of lane dominance, a bit of safety in the late game. Corki locked and loaded there for Cryin.
Yeah, the big thing for me though is that you still have like stuff like the Twisted Fate open, right? So maybe Yuekai tries to play that and ends up like playing off towards sidelines, like beating Ultra Prime at what we expected Cryine's game plan to be. But yeah, it is going to be the Corki and it is going to be the Xiao as well. So I think you take the Thresh here for Invictus Gaming. And then it's a question of what does Shun feel comfortable playing into this. We've seen some people go for the Lee Sin, but you end up kind of on the back foot when it comes to 1v1 skirmishes, and you end up trying to outpace the Xiao in a poor matchup because Xiao just offers more when it comes towards team fights. So some teams have been straying away from it, but certainly fits Shun's playstyle, which is, hey, we want to get into the lanes early and we want to try and get the game in our favor.
Well, Shun, no stranger to the Lee Sin, a good skirmishing power as well. Not as good in a 1v1 in the early levels against the Zhao, but can still do a lot in the lanes if you can land that Sonic Wave. And now IG maybe looking to, yep, they're going to lock in their top laner as well. So that's the Gwen here for Zika. They're trying to see, make sure that he gets something that he's comfortable in. And now you get an opportunity here for Ultra Prime. Do you take your AD carry, or do you look to just try and get ZS something good into this top side?
I imagine it'll be the AD carry, right? But already so many banned away and the Aphelios taken, you'll want to make sure that you're going to set yourselves up nicely. Looks like it will be the Ziggs, and I like this idea coming through from Ultra Prime, right? You can now play a pretty long range. You've got the Corki there with poke, Ziggs now offering that as well. And ZS, if he even wants, you can take the Jayce into the top lane as long as it's not banned away from IG. But I imagine that will be it, the ban from IG, right? Like, get the good matchup for Zika. Make sure that you're not going to have the not only the pretty nice matchup for ZS on the Jayce, but also just opting in towards more range on Ultra Prime side.
Now you gotta start taking away some of those bans. Again, Yuekai's LeBlanc, not something that's going to be allowed through. They are constantly and consistently banning that away. And straight up, I think you just ban away the Victor as well on the side of Ultra Prime. Take that very safe scaling pick that we have seen very much flip games on their head, is now the Tryndamere getting locked away. I am very curious as to why that ban came in.
Yeah, that's not what I was expecting, right? Like I already said, hey, you can play at range, and maybe even if you want to opt in towards some sort of like strong frontline like a Gragas or something for ZS here, that would feel like more of the style that you want from Ultra Prime, right? Disengage, maybe a bit of a frontline, but also something that can provide a little bit of poke. So we'll have to see exactly what the ban is here. If it's not Jayce, I imagine that's what ZS will tend towards here in that top side. Whereas for Ultra Prime, as you said, like banning away LeBlanc, banning away the Vex, two things that can like be a nuisance in that mid lane if you are going for this long range to opt in towards the poke. So Braves again, yeah, I feel like you either go towards Gragas or the Jayce here for ZS. You have a like Jayce, or sorry, the Gragas doesn't have a super nice time against the Gwen in the top lane, but you can just look to farm it up and play it reasonably safe. Jayce actually does pretty well into that matchup, so you've got choice either side.
And as well as that, you're looking at Ultra Prime's lineup. It's not exactly lacking in an identity right now. Like you mentioned, long-range poke, you put in a Jayce alongside that. Hell, even a Gragas just for disengage, you will still have that identity and be doing a boatload of damage. The Leona, though, is the lock-in here for ShiauC. Got to take that one there. Neither team really prioritizing that Thresh as of late, and I do agree with it in the bot side, but I feel like IG, you got to put Lucas on this Thresh right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan is here. Like, you're lacking a huge amount of engage for IG, which is your big issue, right? So I kind of understand the Rakan here, where it's just like, look, let's have our go button against this composition that's trying to play at range. And ShiauC going towards the Leona makes a lot of sense, right? Like, Thresh is more of a, hey, I'm going to, like, play a little bit passive, but you be more as a tool for lane, whereas Leona can get some really good roams off and try and play off towards those side lanes, which and help out and linking up with Hacker to influence the mid matchup. Play towards ZS in the top lane if you want, especially as we said, go towards the Jayce here. You've now got a mid and a top side that you can play around super well with ShiauC on roams.
I also like the color combination we've just seen from IG. Blue, red, blue, red, blue. And it's just red, the little things. Yes. The little thing, yeah. We don't talk about that. We move forward from there. But like you mentioned, ZS going towards that Jayce has a pretty decent time. And look at the pure amount of poke damage that be able to come out from the side of Ultra Prime. If you don't even get, if you get maybe 1 Q from each one of these carries, you can't engage on a fight if you're IG.
Yeah, and even the ult for Milk as well going to do so much, especially towards people like Aphelios, who will have the Gale Force to try and avoid a lot of it, but still, if that lands, you're going to feel the brunt of it. Whereas for IG, right, like, you're very much reliant on Lucas here. Seeing if he can set up these
15-day break to the very Irish.
I was going to say, that was a
poor
13,
team.
wasn't it?
I don't know, man. It's just when I'm casting with you, the old, the roots of the cause of me come out really in force.
I will laugh. Like, Munchables came over to my place just for when we were doing summer finals last year, and like my mom made him breakfast and everything because we picked him up from the airport, and he was like, Rob, I've had zero problem understanding you the entire time that I've known you. The second you started talking to your parents, I had no idea.
It was similar. It was similar for Jordan as well. Lyric came over to mine, and I met my dad, and he's like, I thought you had a strong accent. Holy hell, your dad has a strong accent. And I had to remind him, I was like, my dad doesn't even have that strong of an accent. Like, we are the mildest forms of Irish accents. We should try to do that sometime. We should try and just like cast it, like, you know, oh, boys, here we go. We got Corki going up against Orianna. We're going to see how they get on by. But anyway, coming back.
Nobody understood that.
Nobody understood what I said there. It was all gibberish. I want you to set up expectations. Where do you want to see both of these teams attacking? What do you want to see them do in the first 10 minutes of the game?
Well, at least looking at Hacker, right, it still looks like the game plan, at least, is to try and set up Elk and ShiauC and clear from top to bot side, but this is actually being matched by Shun, who I expected to try and play towards Zika, but it could also just be the case of, look, let's try and play down towards Xiaoyueji, and if we can disrupt Elk and ShiauC, it makes things a heck of a lot more difficult to try and play around Rip Kel's game, because
I don't think Chelsea's in a... No, Chelsea's dead. I don't think Chelsea wanted to go for that one there. That was very questionable, and that's first blood to IG. We talked about how important this bot lane is. Xiaoyueji got himself the... He's proven us wrong. He's now ahead.
Yeah, like, you can usually go for these sorts of engagements kind of level 4, level 5 with the Ziggs, because you end up with the satchel charge, which can provide even more CC, and there's just such a long period of time where you're not really able to do anything. The route is next to nothing, right? It's like 0.75 seconds. That's not enough time to actually do anything in the lane, and you see it there now. Hacker trying to see if he can fix things.
Yeah, he flashed over the wall. They need to try and make something work for them. There's a flash satchel start. Good response from Ultra Prime. Hacker recognizing they needed to try and get this Aphelios back down into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, the kill, though, going over towards Hacker, which means you're still getting a little bit of a gold advantage coming through there for Xiaoyueji, and even with where the wave is positioned, right, you shouldn't miss out on too much in the CS or XP department, but we'll have to see what Shun's response is going to be as he actually gets spotted trying to make his way in towards that mid lane.
Hacker already seeing now. This is what we talked about. The Zhao is stronger in the 1v1. Shun recognizing that, knows that he cannot just go over and contest that. That alongside the Ultra Prime bot side roaming up to help him out. So again, not a big deal losing 2 scuttles or even a scuttle in a battle. You just don't want to lose your life over it because it's just not worth it.
My big question, though, is like, what does Shun try and prioritize here? Because it feels like playing through top is his best shot at this stage, but we're just going to get a replay here, right? Hacker flashes into the bush, bypasses that ward, and the flash ward from Elk, so huge amount invested on this bot side to pick up that kill, but we'll have to see if it ends up getting punished or whether Ultra Prime can now try and play through this, right? Elk will be able to shove in waves. We're talking about the 8-minute mark coming up for Rift Herald. One of the big things about Ziggs is, look, if you can try and keep this TP for that point in time, it means that you can actually play not only towards the bot lane pressure, but also having the teleport to always join in for a Rift Herald fight. So we'll have to see how Elk decides to use that summoner spell.
Right, well, could have been disastrous in the bot side, or very, very good for IG if they weren't able to equalize it out on the side of Ultra Prime. Cryin did get himself back, actually picked up a Negatron cloak, so looking for that early Hex Drinker. I like this because, you know, you're against the Gwen and in Orianna. You are going to have some moments. We saw it in a previous series there where basically the Gwen's entire job is to get on top of the Corki and just try and keep him away from throwing out those rockets. So getting that early Hex Drinker is going to give him a little bit of survivability. Will delay his power spike by a little bit, but I don't think Cryin is expecting to be taking over the game anytime soon.
I'd be surprised if he went for the full Hex Drinker. A lot of times what you see for mid laners are into kind of lane bullies like the Orianna, you just get them mantle but bot side.
Oh, great grand entrance. They have no flashes on either of these carries. Xiaoyueji picks up his second kill. ShiauC underneath the turret should be able to keep himself alive, but very, very nicely done there. Lucas perfectly timing himself, getting himself the two-man knockup.
And this is the thing, right? We were talking about, look, if you're going to burn these flashes for that play, you can always get punished later on, and that's just what Shun did. So nice job by Shun to get in. Now you got 2 kills going the way of Xiaoyueji. And again, because he lost out on that early play, not actually that far behind because the gold that he picked up on the first kill. And now you can see he's actually got himself a nice little gold lead. Still behind on experience, but still a really good spot. Now Lucas considering linking up with Shun to see if they can put pressure on the top side, but going to make his way back down towards the spot.
Yeah, Hacker as well going to be able to start up this dragon. They know that with the resets coming in from the Ultra or the IEG bot side, they are going to have priority over that objective. So that's going to be the first dragon stacking up for them. We wait to see now where IG, and I will say the big news obviously that the Hex Dragon or the Chem Dragons are gone and done, no longer on the live patch. We're not on live patch, so we could still get ourselves a Chem Rift, and we have a 1 in 4 possibility, 25% chance as the cloud is going to follow the mountain.
And it'll be such a rough time for Ultra Prime if it was, because one of the big things in team fights, right, is like, hey, can Zika get and Shun get these wraparounds? Can Lucas hide in the bush so then he can get these big engages off and like close the distance onto Ultra Prime? Where that Chemtech Soul makes things a hell of a lot easier because of the amount of vision that you just end up losing out on as IG or Ultra Prime, sorry, in those situations. Shun though moving in onto this top side, trying to get vision control now for Zika, and that top lane matchup usually slightly Jayce favored, but Zika first time on the Rift has been doing a really good job in the 1v1 to actually get that CS lead, and now putting pressure into this top side jungle with Shun.
Yeah, putting a lot of pressure here. You can see Hacker and Cryin trying to just make sure they can secure this red buff, but mid-wave's been pushed in. Yuekai is here. The smite comes in as Shun will take a command protect, and the ball should dissuade any real re-engagement. Shun takes a shock blast to the face, but he's going to be just fine. They're going to re-engage onto this bot side. No flash still on Elk. They try to turn this one back onto Leona, but I just don't think you can take this fight right now, Ultra Prime. You have to run away. They are not able to take on this 2v2, and they need to recognize that sooner or later.
Yeah, the Noon Quiver being completed for Xiaoyueji is actually like pretty strong, and you gotta be able to just kind of back it up. Jayce still trying. Cryin, you've got no mana, and auto attacks from Yuekai will hurt just as much. So Cryin gonna look for the reset. 15 seconds until the package spawns, as well as that Rift Herald. So feels like this is kind of a nice timing here for Cryin to reset, pick up that big package, and then try and make this play over towards the Rift Herald push the top side.
See where they want to go for, and this is honestly not what we expected in this bot lane. I mentioned it a little bit in the champ select, but I didn't really want to see the Ziggs. Ziggs isn't what I would quintessentially put Elk towards. It's not something that I expect to see him on. It's the Samiras, it's the Aphelios, the Jinx, of course, but these very aggressive push forward in your face comps or AD carries that can be a nuisance in the longer team fights and can just be aggressive and get those kills. On the Ziggs, you are just relegated to being a bit more passive. You have to play to your strength, which is just clearing waves and doing that extra bit of poke that you can possibly put down. So we already see it's not really sticking to the same style that you would like. And Elk, with his flash available, Lucas will get the grand entrance, but now with the Mega Inferno Bomb, should be able to use that to clear the wave. But Shun is saying, I don't care. I'm going to keep going for this. He flashes away. They actually miss all the ultimates, but it doesn't matter. Elk will fall. ShiauC will, actually Shun, I would say, will take away his own life for that dive, but another 2 kills over to Xiaoyueji. And again, IG are capitalizing on the spot side.
Yeah, IG being able to burn the flash once more for Elk will get some plates on the bot side as well, but you'll see on top end ZS getting a huge amount of gold input to himself thanks to those turret plates and that Rift Herald going down. Should even get the second charge here, so see Xiaoyueji trying to see if he can get some turret plates back, but not really going to be enough. So Ultra Prime, Elk being a little bit rough, whereas they are feeling themselves up on this top side. Now, the big thing I want to go back to though is like, as you're talking about Elk, right? Like, we've seen him play this pick on WE a good amount. He's even played it when he was on Ultra Prime. I think the big thing, though, is, like, with Missing was more suitable to, like, hey, I'm going to roam off this pick. I'm going to play kind of a little bit more passive, and we'll pick and choose our fights. I think the biggest problem here is that ShiauC's just kind of going gung-ho and, like, flying in with the Zenith plate, and it's kind of been one of the big criticisms of ShiauC for a long time, is that having a bit more patience in lane, and that's the real issue that I'm seeing here. And yes, you're not able to play around Elka as much as Hacker, but the whole point is, like, let's play elsewhere. It's just that ShiauC's just been sitting in this lane bot side and not really being able to help out too much elsewhere on the map.
Like we mentioned, getting out and roaming, trying to make that a win condition for yourselves. We haven't really looked at the mid lane in a while. They've just been facilitating their junglers. It is about a 10 CS lead there for Cryin over the Orianna, so doing all right for himself, as we can see Yuekai getting a little bit more pressure onto him, as the Jayce says, I don't have a lane to worry about anymore. I got my tower, so can move around, open up that map a little bit more. 35 seconds till that dragon spawns. I wouldn't be surprised to see IG really try and look to contest this one. Like we mentioned, they have a very powerful bot side. Already got the Gale Force here for the 4-1 Xiaoyueji. And he's got double buffs as well, so he's feeling pretty fine. And I think the big thing is, yes, Ultra Prime were able to trade back a 2-for-1 in that bot side dive. xiaoC got the kill. They didn't go over to Elk. So, again, another moment, another small little thing that can lead to bigger problems down the road for Ultra Prime.
But we gotta say, right, IG, we highlighted this bot lane saying, hey, this has not been going well. 600 gold down, usually at the 15-minute mark. Well, he's sitting over 1,000 gold up at the moment. So we gotta give props where it's due. Shun helping out this bot side. It's worked out now with Dragon spawning. Ultra Prime trying to see if they can land that poke, but IG having good control over River. Push in that bot side as well. It should just be IG favor.
Should, but xiaoC walking a little bit too close will take a bit of a hit as they start up the dragon. They don't really have the vision control here from the side of Ultra Prime, but they have got ZS roaming over now. But a little too late. The dragon goes over to IG, and that's going to be a dragon piece. Gold pretty much dead even.
Yeah, and you can even see Zika had already roamed over as well, right? So it would have been the 5 versus 4 against Ultra Prime for quite a while. And with no vision, it makes it really hard to spot out where Lucas is. So rightfully, Ultra Prime see if they can land some poke, but not able to. And flash forward.
Flash forward. It wasn't even a flash forward. It was just a Gale Force as he goes in. xiaoC now in a lot of trouble. Will have his ult, or excuse me, his W to keep him nice and tanky. But this is the big power spike, and again, xiaoyueji is coming up trumps in this matchup.
Yeah, and he's absolutely decimating now. xiaoC, I don't think you want to... Just go away.
Please,
just go home.
Go home.
Yeah. Look, I appreciate aggressive supports, but, you know, when there's literally no one on that side of the map and you're on that health, don't do it. Top side, though.
Top side, we are going to see the Gwen now as Zika tries to get himself away. Will get hit by the accelerated shock blast, but it's a Gwen. She's immune, and with the Riftmaker, very hard to take down. So at the end of it all that plate money, all that gold going on to the Xiaoyueji, who is now looking 2,000 gold, over 2,000 gold ahead of Elk. This guy is accelerated to all hell.
Yeah, pretty much the entirety of that lead for IG.
Oh.
xiaoC swing and a miss there, not quite able to finish off the recon. But yeah, I gotta say, right, we've now got a dragon apiece coming through for Ultra Prime and IG. Rift Tower is going to be open in about 3 minutes time, and you've got this massive AD carry to fight around. Like, you're in really good shape, and here, it's disrespect from Elk, right? Like, walking up so far with xiaoC, you can see the gravitum there, and with the Gale Force able to set that up. And again, like, Lucas coming in as well, like, there's just so much CC and lock-up that Ultra Prime have to deal with in that bot lane. And now as we're talking about, right, playing at range, trying to use Ultra Prime to, like, get posted up on objectives first so they can land that poke. You know, having control of their flanks with vision. When you have this strong of an AD carry that you can play around, it's very easy for you to start rotating him around the map, start looking for, you know, fights at Rift Tower, crack open turrets, and suddenly the control of the map that Ultra Prime have become a lot more difficult to actually have. So I feel like for IG, making this Rift Tower play into a mid lane turret should be the name of the game to start denying vision and access the map for Ultra Prime.
I think the big thing as well is, despite Elk being 2,000 gold behind, he does have his Leandri's Torment. He is able to continuously put out poke damage and clear out waves. That's the important thing you want from this Ziggs. Elk will have to play a bit more passive and be a lot more careful. Has got his flash now back off of cooldown. Wonder how long that one will last. And we got 2 minutes until the next dragon spawns. 6 seconds until the Rift Herald spawns. And it looks like Cryin's now syncing up his packages with that Rift Herald. He's going to see if he can maybe make a bit of an impact play around one of these big objectives. But if I'm just the side of IG, I wait around. I don't really want to fight around this because, like I mentioned, you just don't need to go out against this package right now.
I still think just with the massive advantage you have in Xiaoyueji, you can, right? Like 5 kills, Gale Force, already BF Sword, like you can definitely fight this. It looks like that's what IG want to do with Zika TPing in. No flank access though, and now Ultra Prime can poke.
They can poke, and ZS is off to us a bit of a pincer here, so poke from 2 sides. They're not landing any of it just yet. Zika just gets jumped on, pops down the mist, and tries to keep himself alive. Xiaoyueji takes a lot of damage. They jump straight down onto ZS, and he's caught out between a rock and a hard place, gets kicked back. He will end up losing his life, as now we can see them using the package just to get themselves away. Hacker taking a lot of damage. Lucas uses the quickness to find out the Ziggs, but with the package separating everybody else, it's not going to be enough to try and get them to kill off that one. They will trade 1-for-1 still, a trade up for Ultra Prime.
I mean, did they even get a kill there for Ultra Prime? I think it was, yeah, IG just like walk out with a full team, right? So when you look at the 160 gold that you can get from Rift Herald, it's kind of a win for IG. So if you can get the pushes now as well, get control of the map, honestly, I think it's a bigger win for IG. For Ultra Prime, I'm not really sure where you can even try and turn down this Rift Herald because you should have map control in favor of IG.
I will say, I always give the team with the Ziggs and the Rift Herald a slight advantage, because if you leave that Ziggs alone with the Rift Herald, they will take a tier 2 that turns from 160 to maybe even 600 gold. But this is just ZS getting caught out, thinks he's okay to kind of go for this one here. But Sean, again, we talked about how important this guy is for this team. He is going to be so pivotal if they want to try and close out this game.
Yeah, you can see great pick onto ZS, and from this point forward, it's run for the hills. But you nailed it perfectly, right? This package from Cryin does mean that you're not able to follow up. I also think a bit of a mistake from Xiaoyueji there. He has the Gravitum ult, but ends up using it as Infernum. I think if you actually use the Gravitum there and lock up members, you can play catch up. But either way, right? Kill going in favor of IG. You can see the map control is there. Rift Herald plunked down on top side though. It looks like they're just going to take the tier 2 off of this since it was already low from that initial charge.
Yeah, they get themselves 600 gold, or 550 as such, and then back themselves away. It's going to be Zika, who's been very quiet. Despite having that 1 kill, has been very quiet this game. A lot of pressure towards him. He's had to play that weak side, and get that an extra push now onto Shelly is very impactful. Like we mentioned, this Ziggs, if they get themselves into a position to be able to push in towards that top side, that could be a dead turn, and all of a sudden your base is open. Another threat available for Ultra Prime. But with a push, there is always a pull, and the pull is IG getting themselves the Ocean Drake.
Yeah, and another dragon going their way. And now for IG, right? Like, you open up opportunities if you want to for denying Ultra Prime these poke fights. Because for IG, right, you've got this super strong Gwen. Well, I say super strong. The strong Gwen on a side lane that you can look to try and play through. ZS, although he's had some gold, Zika's actually been doing a really good job of keeping himself in control. So honestly, I think when it starts to come towards these next dragons, I think Yuekai.
Okay, Yuekai going to use the shockwave to keep himself out and alive, but the wind becomes lightning. They crack down with him some thunder. Nicely done there by Ultra Prime, and this is the thing I'm talking about. If you're able to find these picks, the poke just becomes obnoxious, and you can't really deal with this damage from the Corki. You have to try and find a hard engage with Lucas or with Shun, otherwise this team fight just won't work for you.
But I don't understand why Yuekai was there, right? Like, I thought I was going to be able to finish my point, because I mean, Yuekai should have just backed away in that situation. Now you see ZS, because he knows the bot lane's free, getting that shove in. Yes, you'll get Zika taking the tower top side, but tier 1 for tier 2, more gold going in favor of Ultra Prime. And they've got mid-wave control as well.
Mid-wave control, they're able to take probably a tier 2 in this bot side. They're going to try and jump onto Elk right now, who's in a lot of trouble. Forced to flash away, but he's ticking down. Ignite, is it good enough? Yes, it is. But they're going to try and make this fight won't work for them now. They're going to use the Solar Flare right down on the Xiaoyueji. It's a trade of 80 carries, but ZS now hunting, looking to see if he can find Lucas, and he will. That's a trade back of kills. Ultra Prime finding themselves a 2-for-1 advantage in that mid lane skirmish.
I'm not going to lie, this is the exact messiness I expected from this series. Like, Elk just getting caught out of mid lane as Cryin is doing the Raptors. You end up seeing like multiple plays coming across as Ultra Prime managed to collapse on towards the mid lane. It ain't looking pretty, but again, it's like a very even gold lead. You got Dragon at 3 minutes. The ability for both these sides still to take over this game.
Let's have a look at the replay here, because again, it looks opportunistic for the side of IG, but Elk is, again, still a very, very safe carry when he has his flash. He will fall, but look at the damage he puts out on the back end of this just before he dies.
Yeah, a lot of that coming from Cryin as well, and just the lockup from xiaoC working wonders. But ZS ends up TPing in, so he'll be able to pick up the kill. But it does mean from Ultra Prime's perspective, right? No TP coming. Oh, he didn't even TP. Yeah,
no, he just walked up
in.
from
yeah.
bot.
But Cryin has no TP for that next fight. You've still got an Elkin ZS, so still the ability to clear waves and still be able to keep pressure up towards this dragon in 2 minutes. Baron going to be spawning quite soon, but I don't really feel like any team has the ability to play towards that. Is Shun maybe looking for a pick underneath this tower?
xiaoC feeling it. Has the ether speaking to him. Still waiting to upgrade his warding item. As you can see, there's a couple of stacks still available for him. When becomes lightning, lands onto Lucas, slows him down a little bit as the rest of IG and Ultra Prime start to congregate around this red buff at the top side. Ultra Prime still very happy with the game state. They're actually ahead on gold, only behind on a dragon, so they're very happy for the moment. This Gwen, though, is starting to get a bit scary for ZS. Doesn't really feel that comfortable to go 1v1 against it. And we are going to see them pushing in towards that bot side, making sure that they have as much side lane pressure as they possibly can. Elk taking about a third of his HP just from 1 Q. That's a fed Aphelios for you, as he now finally has the Bloodthirster.
Yeah, and this is something you got to be aware of, right, for Ultra Prime. There's always the opportunity here as Dragon spawns for IG to try and trade position on Dragon for position on Baron. And I feel like that's going to be their best bet here because they are taking a lot of broken lane. The resets are coming through a little bit staggered. It's going to be pretty hard for them to get full control over the map. So I think what you do is just play off towards Dragon. If Xiaoyueji has enough damage now that he could rip through that Baron if Ultra Prime overcommit for the Dragon. And even if you have Ultra Prime not fully committing for the Dragon and try and contest you at Baron, now they're being drawn into you. They don't have the vision control, and that's where you can try and punish his IG.
Well, ZS thought about it, but he's just going to recall now, get himself back in behind his own turrets before he goes up in a 1v1. 37 seconds until the Dragon spawns. IG now aggressively posturing around this blue side jungle of Ultra Prime. Yes, you can wave clear for days, but when you're wave clearing for days on the side of Ultra Prime, it means you don't have the opportunity to establish your vision control now in this bot side. So Dragon control will be in favor of IG as Ultra Prime try and muscle their way back into a decent setup. As I say that, Zika almost getting taken out right now. Not quite going to land the accelerated shock blast. And that's going to be Zika having to go back and probably TP back into this fight. He's too low to participate as the Dragon just about to spawn.
Yeah, no ult is really tough as well. And now IG caught and rock in the hard place. And this is what we're talking about, right? Ultra Prime having to contest this Lucas.
I mean, I like the idea because he burns the package away. The TP's going to come in. Lucas, though, has no quickness and is about half HP. They're going to jump onto Hacker, who has to use the Crescent Guard. There's the Mega Inferno Bomb, and you can see these health bars are getting very, very low. But on the side of Ultra Prime, they're healthy. They just need to land rockets, land accelerated shock blast. It's enough to dissuade IG. IG do not feel comfortable going for this. They're going to try and maybe look for a steal right now. But Yuekai walking way too far forward, leads into the Dragon Pit. Can he get the steal? No, he cannot. And he will die for his sins. Now you can see the pings and the rush straight away towards that Baron.
Yeah, super messy from IG. Lucas tries to dissuade the package, but Lucas is the big engage too for IG. So with that down, Ultra Prime get to play at range. Now they get the tower, and I do think they will go over towards Baron. I think it's their best call, but
no, not gonna do it just yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, right? Like, you still don't have ults coming through for Zika. You had a lot of IG running down towards that bot side, but not wanting to commit to it. Now IG coming back out into the map. They're getting control once more. A little bit messy on both sides, but as you come into the replay, right? This is actually after the engage, so yeah, I'm not really sure. Like, Yuekai again, weird spot. Shun tries to see if he can get the steal, which is a little bit too late. But I don't think IG should have been here anyway, right? They couldn't get control over the map or over the side lanes. They didn't really have flank opportunities. This is why we're saying, look, play towards Baron area, right? Like, trade the Dragon for position on Baron and then see if you can catch Ultra Prime and use Lucas's ult to find picks, or catch Ultra Prime off as they try and separate themselves to do Dragon and also contest Baron.
You saw how well IG had set themselves up. It would have been soul point. They would have had an opportunity to heal back so much of the damage that would have been put onto them should they be able to get that soul. But with Zika getting caught in bot side, forcing his own ultimate and his teleport out so early, having to go back and reset, IG just didn't have the position to contest for it. So now Ultra Prime, they've equaled out the Dragons. They have 1,000 gold lead, and they are looking like their composition is just getting to that point of You can't deal with us. 2.5 items onto the Ziggs, 2.5 items on the Jayce and the Corki. These are just massive, massive power spikes for these guys. And this isn't even their final form. They will just continue to get bigger, better, and harder to deal with.
Yeah, it just feels like you haven't got the right identity for IG about how to beat what Ultra Prime are doing, right? They're not really finding opportunities to close the gap onto Ultra Prime, and Ultra Prime honestly are doing a good job of, playing it patient, keep for that poke. And I agree with you, right? You've got a ton of scaling still to come through, and Cryin still going to be able to churn out damage with these rockets as well. And sure, Xiaoyueji and Yuekai, even Zika can do a lot of damage if they get onto you, but that's the big problem, right? Is actually closing the gap onto this team.
Well, in the bot side, ZS still very confident and powerful. Going to be able to take out the tier 2, and that means there's only one outer turret left in that mid lane. Then you're onto the inhibitors, and with the damage that was done to that top lane tier 3 with the second Rift Herald spawn, means that they're going to be in a little bit better of a situation should they be able to get the drop onto IG. And for IG, like you mentioned, it's all about getting Shun behind the carry, getting him and Lucas to sync up to try and set this one. You had such an amazing start. Your Aphelios was 2,000 gold ahead, and it just hasn't really translated itself into anything decent in the mid game. But now we're coming into that mid to late game setup. Where do you want to see both these teams look to try and aggress towards 2 minutes until Dragon? I don't really see most teams going for that. What do you think?
I still think that your best bet for IG is trying to pull Ultra Prime in several different directions, right? You've got Dragon that's going to come up. I'd imagine Zika goes topside here, pushes in, maybe threatens a tier 2. You also need Yuekai to jump down to this bot side to push in that wave so they can actually contest. But if you can't get vision control, which is what IG don't have at the moment, but then just play towards Baron, right? You can always have Yuekai TP up or Zika TP up to that play, and try and see if you can catch Ultra Prime off guard. Look at the vision for Ultra Prime right? That entire Baron area is dead. They have no idea what's going on. That is perfect for IG if they're able to sneak Lucas into position. Get Shun to make a pick.
Well, looks like Ultra Prime heard you, and they are starting to move themselves towards that mid lane. Speaking of mid lane, Elk will TP to the tier 1 there and get himself back onto the map. Has got a fully stacked tier, and Nomicon alongside his Leandri's Torment, so he's going to be doing some pretty decent burn damages and constantly getting those grievous wounds down. Fully completed Infinity Edge here for Xiaoyueji, so again, very, very powerful item spike here for the Aphelios. 200 years, we all know the deal right now, and now the package is spawned, and the package shall be taken here by Cryin. It looks like they're going to try and put themselves onto Soul Point here on Ultra Prime, and I think IG, you got to find a good engage. You have the tools available to you, but there are a lot of flashes available, a lot of ways of disengaging here from Ultra Prime. As I say that, they're going to flash in with the center plate, go in with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Cryin is here. He's going to use the package down and just try and disengage and get himself set up. The shockwave is good, but not good enough. And now the fight can really go in favor of this Aphelios. The Tree, they can keep pushing forward. No Crescent Guard. Hacker goes golden, but I don't think that's going to do a lot for him. This is a 4v4 out of nowhere in the mid lane because the top laners were bot side.
Yeah, but the big problem was ShiauC engaged. You want to play it patient, play at range, allow the poke to land, but ShiauC just went gung-ho, and now Xiaoyueji is able to win out the fight. He's got the mid-tower. Dragon is going to go in favor of IG, and that's such a big breath of fresh air for IG, who were starting to feel constricted, starting to struggle to move in this game. But just like that, mistake from Ultra Prime and IG capitalized.
That was ShiauC opting in. That wasn't a fully... let's have a look at the replay here, because this is just ShiauC flashing in and going for the engage.
Yeah, thinks he can get Yuekai, but Cryin not really in a position. Great ult coming through from Lucas to stop the follow-up, which means Yuekai gets the chance to flash away. And you're leaping onto Xiaoyueji. Now we're onto Baron.
We're going to have to go straight back into the live replay as we're going to look and see exactly where Baron's going down. Yep, they get it. Hacker wasn't there. Hacker was dead. And now IG catapult themselves right back into this game. They've got the 2 objectives they wanted, and then they can reset themselves back on the map.
Yeah, running away though. Ultra Prime trying to see if they can catch folks. That's not the backing area.
Oh, dearie me. They're going to try and see if they can get out Xiaoyueji with Lucas, but they're all pushing forward. ZS now in a little bit of trouble. It needs to be very, very careful. They need to trade this. Got very, very close, but it wasn't able to be done in the end. Shockwave is good, but it's not going to be the trade back any lives. Ultra Prime will take out a casualty and be able to push in towards this mid lane. This is just so messy. Both teams doing and throwing really, really disrespectful recall positions there from IG.
Blue team's turret has been
I don't understand. Like, you're being chased through the jungle. You're like, this is where I'm gonna stop. It's like, you know,
they were 5 paces away. We got this.
Like, go on without me. It's like, you don't. I don't need to. You can still walk. Like, you're okay.
Well, the inhibitor just about taken down there. Baron buff minions. It was being teetered on by about a point or two in its own health bar. I've had enough of those this week or last, as Ultra Prime have cracked open the base. So despite IG doing everything they possibly could to really accelerate themselves back, they just, for lack of a better term, they kind of throw it away a bit. They can't move now with this Baron buff. They can't take the turrets they want to take. Hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if they could take, I don't even think they can take the mid lane turret tier 1.
No, I mean, realistically...
Wait, they've already taken it, tier 2.
They have taken, yeah, but realistically, right, as you say, lane's not really in their favor. They are starting to push through now, so they should have 2 waves that they can try and work with here in the mid lane, but with the wave clear that you have from Ultra Prime, even with the Baron up, still going to be able to clear that reasonably okay. And IG just looking to try and get vision on the top side rather than actually looking at these turrets.
This is a battle of, I will get the exact positions now of these 2 teams. Yeah, it is a battle of 12th and 13th, joint, I believe. Yeah. Actually, no, Ultra Prime are slightly higher because they've won more individual games. So this is a struggling setup of 2 teams trying to get themselves back into it. Again, we should expect that this is going to be as scrappy as it is. It is about the momentum you build up, and in fairness to both teams, we expected it to be close. 9-9, a dragon difference, but that dragon difference is only 1,000 gold in favor of Ultra Prime, so it is as even as it comes. As we look to see now with the Baron buff, can they even take a turret? It's a minus 55 gold, probably a little bit more Baron power play for the side of IG, and now they're in a little bit of trouble without that Baron buff to try and take away these turrets.
Yeah, they really just can't siege up against Ultra Prime. Ultra Prime has so much wave clear, and you can see can't even try and wiggle their way in and around, right? Because the poke is landing, Lucas has been spotted out, and I don't think they'll be able to get this turret, but they're just trying to buy time, right? Minute and a half until the next dragon. I realistically, though, would like to see IG trying to, like, use this pressure. As you can see, like, where Zika is moving down towards the bot side. You can always then fall back after putting full vision control in this bot side. Give the opportunity for TP wards for Zika, see if Lucas is able to get good position as well, but now because they put so much focus on the top side, they've got to reset, no vision established on the bot side of the map for Dragon, and you end up in the same problem where Ultra Prime can take this slow, don't have to worry about TP flanks coming in behind them or anything like that.
Yeah, with a minute Dragon until Dragon spawn, like you mentioned, they're just going to have to try and get their waves back in order. You have a Ravenous Hydra here for Cryin, so he's going to be able to just clear these waves endlessly. You can see as well with Elk has got that Shadow Flame, so doing a hell of a lot of damage, and just pure just setup here from the side of Ultra Prime. Feels like they should be the ones coming out on top, but this game has taught me anything is that both these teams are not willing to go the conventional route, shall we say.
Look, all ShiauC has to do is take the E button off his keyboard. You don't really need that. Because all you need to do is, you need to just hit the Q button and, like, stop people that are running at you. Use the Ult button to stop people running at you. Your E is useless in this scenario. Let's just take it nice and slow.
Not what you want to be used.
Yeah, Zenith Blade is not an ability. Just let it play it slow, and it'll be all good.
Well, there's 5 members of Ultra Prime here. TP going to be used by the Orianna, and Shun is very far away from this dragon. I don't think they know exactly where he is, and now Yuekai TPing in, going to be able to see if he can get some damage down. Shun on a flank, but now they know where he is. There was a great ward there in that bush just at the back of Blue Pit. As they now try and see if they can get a bit more poke damage down. It is the Orianna, though, who's the queen of poke at the moment, as Zika starts up the dragon. It's still very risky for the side of IG, but it's high risk, high reward to get yourself an Ocean Soul. Here we go. They're going to try and maybe go with this in the Moonlight Vigil. Go straight in on the back side. Lucas is the first to fall to trade of supports the dragon, sitting there idly saying, does no one want to take me? Does no one want to kill me off? And now he's going to go back to his house and try and maybe get himself reset. They go in. There is the soul point there for IG. They get themselves the Ocean Soul. And now can Xiaoyueji turn this fight around? I think he can. He will get the snipe down there onto the Jayce. And now 4 versus 2. It looks like IG are happy to reset, get themselves and get their lanes back in order.
And that's pretty much game now for IG. This poke composition got its worst nightmare. 3 Ocean Dragons and the Ocean Soul for IG. Your poke means nothing around here. And again, unfortunately for Ultra Prime, they're not able to get the control that they need. No poke going down in this fight. And IG are taking, we'll see it in the replay here, right? They end up playing fairly far forward here. Zika just using it to draw out the dragon. And Elk walks straight into Yuekai's ult. The ball just sitting there, and then you got Hacker who needs to engage because he's worried about Elk. Maybe he didn't. Maybe we need to talk to him about removing E-keys as well. But either way, Dragon ends up being picked up. We're straight over towards the Baron, which is should be pretty easy here for IG to take.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of... Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, no. Well,
what are they doing?
What's going on, man? That's just Shun smiting early as well, like straight up. Shun. Oh no, Shun didn't smite early. Shun just didn't smite. I need to get a. I would love a replay. Obviously, we have no control over the. We have no control over this. Let's have a look at. Let's see how much this, because this might not be Shun's problem. This might not be Shun's fault.
I mean, there was the Elk ult, the Corki bomb. Like, there's a ton of damage that comes through. Yeah, 920, 900 is the smite damage. So unfortunately, just that little bit too high. Yeah, just a ton of damage coming through very, very quickly. And the two pokes coming in clutch there for Ultra Prime. And now, Ushi, we get to stall out this game even more than it needs to be gonna end. Yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of sucks now for IG, because that is the way that they needed to close this game out, right? You have the Ocean Soul, so technically you're not going to take much damage coming through from Ultra Prime, but you still have a ton of wave clear on Ultra Prime side. So for IG, not having that makes it pretty difficult to try and siege up, to try and take these turrets, and means that now we're stuck in no man's land again. Is Xiaoyueji just walking forward confidently?
They're so frustrated. They're the embodiment of how we feel. They want this game to end right now. There's going to be the quickness use down the Hacker, but he's not the one they want. They're actually going straight onto Elk, so he's dead and buried. But Xiaoyueji gets caught out. As I say, the Hacker no longer has any more cooldowns and will go into GA status. They lose the Gwen, so it's a 1-for-2 trade in favor of IG. But the Baron's still very much available here for Ultra Prime. Shun does find a kick, but not exactly the target he wanted. And now the poke can really come in. Goes golden, trying to keep himself alive. Yuekai seeing if he can do something here. They will take out the Corki. That's the big carry you wanted to kill, but the Aphelios has been traded back. ShiauC will fall, and now they're going to try and see if they can catch out ZS. He is just taking up a little bit of honey fruit and will poke back as well. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him. He should be able to get himself back out to safety, but this game shall never end. This is game 1 of potentially 3 right now, Dagda. It's going to be a long night.
All I hear is Benny Hill music the whole time, the entire time. But look, as you say, right, IG, they try to find the engage. It's a nice attempt coming through. I actually don't mind it, especially when there's nothing really up and on the cards for them to try and get. At least try and see if you can find some sort of success, but unfortunately, not going to be the case, as Ultra Prime, yes, the members go down, and Elk has kind of been caught out a lot of times here. Again, another prime example. Shun Ward hops forward to give Lucas the entrance, flashes straight on towards Elk, who has no flash from the previous fight, and IG do a wonderful job here of setting everything up, but it's after this that goes too far, right? Zika caught out completely by himself. The rest of IG had already fallen back to deal with Hacker, and then on the follow-up as well, right? Everything's already been used, so you're running into this team that wants to try and poke you down, which works out perfectly for them. They're able to continuously play at range, kite you out. Yuekai not only able to hit one member as ShiauC gets that barely able to walk away out of that one.
Just clip ZS, just barely.
And then I'm surprised the damage that came onto Xiaoyueji, right? I think even he was. He's got the Bloodthirster, should have a decent amount of shield. He's even got the Severum there that was healing him up alongside the Bloodthirst and the Hex Drinker, but still manages to fall down. So huge amount of damage coming out in that fight that the Aphelios didn't really expect, but does end up getting a little bit of gold over towards Ultra Prime.
Yeah, we're getting so late into the game right now that the supports are starting to pick up second items, which is unheard of. Actually, a Kentech Putrefier here for Lucas. Not quite sure I get that particular pickup there. You're not really an enchanter to do it at those AoE shields and heals, but hey, to each their own. And
I mean,
not really.
Chances are he's running the rune that when you CC an enemy, it ends up giving healing. So a lot of this will be he can get off that.
Is it Font of Life?
Yeah.
Yes, Font of Life.
So it means that chances are he'll be able to, like, and he's the one setting up the fights, right? So you do end up getting a lot out of that. And your general Qs and stuff like that as well.
All right, we get it. I'm an idiot. You're the smart one. We understand now.
Yeah,
Dagda.
so basically the way that works is if you open up your room page, you can click it, and you even hover over it, it'll explain how it works. Oshi.
I have a sore tummy, and you're coming at me with this. That's not fair.
But IG now setting up on side lanes once more, push coming into the bot side. They have full control over this, and I like that this is the first time we've actually seen IG like getting posted up early for these dragons. Now, obviously a minute until it happens, but still a lot of deep vision there, and Ultra Prime need to try and do it.
See what they want to go for. They are going to try and go in there with Shun to get with the quickness as well. Package has been used. Everyone goes golden. ShiauC is dead, but Shun is as well. And this is looking very bad all of a sudden for IG. They got 3 carries with huge health bars, but just couldn't get into the fight. And they're going to have to try and 50-50 this Baron. I don't know if they can.
I don't think they had to 50-50 this, and Hacker's just going to steal it if it gets too low.
Yeah, Hacker now in the pit. He's going to try and go 1-for-1. He's going to use the Crescent Guard to get himself disengaged. He goes down. There it is. Elder Drake, IG, just pulled the trigger on something they didn't need to do. But I will say that Jayce is now dead. Zika trying to see if he can make this Gwen work. Oh my God, the damage. He will take out the Corki just as he comes back from GA, but there's not really much else he can do. Elk will get themselves the revenge kill on that. But Ultra Prime get out with the Elder, but they only get it out with 2.
I mean, they still have full push. You've got pretty large death timers still on Zika and on Xiaoyueji, so maybe an inhibitor, but Elk not deciding that he wants to move a Hacker, so looks like Yuekai will clear out the wave and will back away. 2 members still have the Elder Dragon, and I don't even know what's happening anymore, Oshi. I think we're going towards the longest game of the split.
I'm at a lot. Well, that will have to beat out the V5 Top Esports absolute bonanza we had over the weekend, which I do believe went to 52 or 53 minutes. But we are not back on it. But like, look, this is it. You go in with Lucas and Shun, but no one else can follow up. And actually, the shockwave completely whiffs.
Well, there was the kick coming through as well onto Cryin, right? Shun knocks him back. Shockwave goes wide. Lucas wasn't in a position to follow up. I mean, I like the idea from Shun to go in, but the pieces of IG weren't there to follow up. And why in the name of God you start up Elder Dragon here is beyond. Like, that is the worst possible thing. Like, you're damaging you're helping. All you're doing is leashing the Elder Dragon for them. Now we're on to Baron coming through for Ultra Prime. That'll be picked up because you can't fight with the Elder buff on the bottom left of your screen. Yeah, I don't know. This was weird from IG.
What did we expect? Did we expect more? Did we expect too much?
Maybe I'm just an optimistic, you know? Maybe I'm just...
I feel like we need to be a bit more like Lyric, be a bit more pessimistic, be a bit more skeptical.
IG, what are you doing? It was supposed to be over!
I actually have it. I'm not going to play it now because it's TT, but here we go. The damage in that last team fight, you can see there Xiaoyueji doing a lot, but the Corki and the Ziggs doing a hell of a lot more. They will crack open the top lane inhibitor turret as well. The inhibitor, we got the beefed up Baron turret, just smacking that with the auto attacks there. And now Lucas is the guy you gotta keep your eye on. If he's able to get a good engage with the quickness, he should be able to kill off a lot of these guys. They're gonna use a TP bit deep as they're gonna go for one final one. They know that it's gonna be a little bit of time. There we go. They're gonna try and use a Shredder's Reverie to get in on top of any of these carries. Hacker is not really the guy you want though right now. Look at the 2 carries on Ultra Prime. Elk and Cryin just free firing on the back end. Nothing you can do here, and you're just going to die. It's a clean ace. IG had to do something. They did, but it ends up being their loss. Ultra Prime will take us to a first game victory after 43.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, not clean from either side. Very back and forth, and Ultra Prime eventually find those fights that are working in their favor with the scaling coming through on their side, but messy fights, messy setups, and I mean, I don't even know where to start analyzing this. Like, my God, like, I mean, IG not really playing towards their win conditions, right? We talked about setting, getting posted up early, trying to trade positions on the map so then you can try and draw Ultra Prime in, giving opportunities for Lucas. But every time we went into team fights, right, IG kept trying to almost fight it like a front-to-back fight, which is perfect for that poke composition. They know exactly where the enemy is. There's more people for them to hit with the poke. And then I thought eventually when we got IG getting towards the ocean, so I was like, right, this is it. You can kind of just shrug off the poke, You don't really need to worry about it too much. But pretty consistently, Xiaoyueji was getting caught out. And it's not even his fault. It's like Hacker diving into the back line. You just get Elk with that ult over the top. He gets one shot. You can see the damage there, right? Like Xiaoyueji was trying his damnedest, but almost all that was going into Hacker, whereas the damage from Cryin and Elk was finding its way onto the back line and healing off Xiaoyueji, who was the only real member who was dealing damage.
Yeah, it just didn't really come together. You had a very clear win condition here from Ultra Prime. Poke with the overwhelming poke with the Jayce, Corki, and the Ziggs, and it felt like there was just too many elements of the side of IG. They didn't know exactly what way they wanted to work it. They didn't know exactly. And I think to be perfectly honest, once the Gwen was basically losing every single 1v1 against ZS, it just became so much harder because you didn't even have that side lane pressure.
Yeah, and honestly, kind of shouldn't have got to that point, right? Like Zika had a decent matchup in the beginning, but started to fall behind in mid. But when you get to the late game like that, more than able is Zika to try and play off through side lanes. We talked about how you should be able to at least put pressure there, maybe look for dives if you want to, but I don't know. Messy from IG, not really able to set it up, and Ultra Prime at least come out the better for wear in that one.
Yeah, well, messy from both teams as Ultra Prime do take a 1-0 up in this series. We're going to send it to a break. When we return, we will have Game 2 picks and bans.